Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti.
Wild men of the primeval forests. Are these entities, these creatures, real? Or are they nothing more than mythological creatures embedded in our collective subconscious? I'm Gary Orona, and this is Tabitha Stevens. Let's take a deep dive into this subject. Let's look into these wild men of the woods, these stories we've heard from across time and from all over the world, and see what we can dig up.
In the heart of the world's wildest and most remote landscapes, there exists a legend that has captured the human imagination for centuries. A legend that transcends cultures, borders, and time itself. It's a tale of elusive giants, shadowy figures, and untamed wilderness. A tale that beckons us to explore the enigmatic realm of Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, and other wild men. Join us on a journey through time and across continents as we delve into the historical accounts, folklore, and contemporary sightings of these elusive creatures. From the Pacific Northwest of North America to the snow-covered peaks of the Himalayas and beyond, these legends have endured, passed down through generations, etching their place in the annals of human history. We'll hear from eyewitness accounts of encounters with these mysterious creatures. We'll also consider what experts in the fields of anthropology, cryptozoology, and indigenous cultures have to say, expounding upon their insights and theories about the origins and existence of these wild men. As we follow in the footsteps of those who have sought to unravel the mysteries of Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, and their counterparts, we'll confront the questions that have haunted us for generations. Are these creatures merely products of our imagination? Or do they inhabit the hidden corners of our world, awaiting discovery? Prepare to immerse yourself in a world where the line between fact and folklore blurs, and where the pursuit of the truth takes us deep into the heart of the untamed wilderness.
So, Gary, where do you think these stories come from?
These stories of these primeval wild men of the woods come from all over the world and all across human time. That's important because if they were isolated events, isolated encounters, we might chalk them off to some local paranoia. But they're global and, more importantly, across time. For thousands and thousands of years, ancient cultures, all the way up to the present, have stories of the wild primeval men of the forests and the woods. So, what exactly does that mean?
Throughout the annals of history in the remote corners of our world, diverse cultures separated by vast oceans and eons of time have shared a peculiar common thread. A thread that weaves its way through their mythologies, folklore, and oral traditions. It's a thread that binds them to the enigmatic creatures that roam their forests. Creatures known by many names: Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, and more. What is it that compels these disparate cultures, spanning thousands of years, to describe beings that are so eerily similar? Could there be a grain of truth hidden within the tapestry of legends? To understand this phenomenon, we must embark on a journey deep into the human psyche and our primal connection to the natural world. One explanation lies in the concept of archetypes, the universal symbols and themes that transcend cultural boundaries. These archetypes often emerge from our collective subconscious, reflecting our shared human experiences. These wild men, whether they're called Bigfoot in North America, Yeti in the Himalayas, or Almas in Central Asia, share common traits that resonate with our primal instincts. A towering, hairy figure that dwells in the wilderness, elusive and mysterious. Indigenous cultures, deeply rooted in their natural surroundings, have long held a unique perspective on these wild men. They view them not merely as myth, but as integral components of their ancestral lands. The stories of these creatures are woven into their spiritual narratives. Our ancestors have spoken of these beings for generations. They are the guardians of the forest, the spirits of the wilderness. To many, they are very real. Anthropologists argue that the prevalence of these stories could also be attributed to the shared human experience of wilderness. When our ancestors ventured into the untamed forests, they encountered unknown dangers, predators, harsh environments, and the fear of the unknown. These legends, in a way, serve as a warning, a reflection of our fear and fascination with the wild. Human beings are wired to detect patterns and make sense of the world around them. When faced with an inexplicable encounter in the wild, we tend to draw upon familiar imagery to make sense of it. But could there be another explanation? Could there exist a hidden, undiscovered species lurking in the deepest recesses of our world's wilderness? Cryptozoologists and adventurers, armed with technology and determination, continue to explore the remote corners of the globe, seeking tangible proof of these elusive creatures. In this quest, they challenge the boundaries of science and skepticism, holding on to the hope that one day evidence will emerge.
So could these sightings be real or possibly more than we can imagine?
Well, good question. Could these entities have coexisted with humanity for hundreds of thousands of years? And is it even reasonable to consider the possibility that they're still out there, that they still exist, yet have remained more or less undetected? Is this a serious subject?
In a world where modern science and exploration have unveiled so many of Earth's secrets, one enigma persists: the legend of creatures like Bigfoot, seemingly elusive and hidden in the shadows of our understanding. Some dismiss these stories as mere mythology, imagination, or hearsay. But what if, beneath the skepticism, there exists a compelling case that these legends are not just figments of our collective imagination, but something very real? Let us consider this. Our planet still harbors vast wilderness areas that remain largely uncharted, where nature's mysteries continue to confound even the most intrepid explorers. These remote regions, often inaccessible and cloaked in dense forest or shrouded in eternal snow, are the perfect refuge for the unknown. Some of the world's most renowned adventurers and explorers have ventured into these untouched realms, and their stories are nothing short of astonishing. They recount encounters that defy easy explanation, footprints of enormous creatures etched into the soil, eerie vocalizations echoing through the night, and fleeting glimpses of colossal figures disappearing into the wilderness. These areas, still beyond our full understanding, provide the ideal backdrop for the existence of creatures like Bigfoot and Yeti. The lack of human presence in these remote zones means that any potential evidence often goes unnoticed or unrecorded. Indigenous communities, deeply connected to these pristine landscapes, have long held their own beliefs in the existence of such beings. Their rich oral traditions often recount encounters with wild men, passed down through generations. To these cultures, these creatures are not myths. They are a part of their living history. Our ancestors knew of them, and so do we. These creatures are as real to us as the trees and the rivers. But it's not just ancient legends or explorers' tales that keep the intrigue alive. In today's age of technology, countless individuals have captured puzzling footage and left behind compelling evidence of mysterious encounters. Footage that, despite rigorous scrutiny, defies easy explanation. These modern-day sightings, recorded on everything from smartphones to trail cameras, challenge our assumptions about what's possible in the wilderness. As scientists, we must remain open to the possibility that we have not yet cataloged all the species that inhabit our planet. These remote, impenetrable regions may indeed hide creatures that defy our current understanding of biology. So, as we venture into the heart of these uncharted territories, we must acknowledge that the stories of creatures like Bigfoot may not be merely mythology, imagination, or hearsay. They may very well be real, lurking in the last vestiges of our planet that continue to challenge our limits of exploration and discovery.
So how many creatures are there out there?
That's a great question, because we have heard accounts through the ages of many different kinds of creatures. We've heard stories of hairy men living in the boreal forests. We've heard the stories of the abominable snowman, Yeti in the Himalayas, and then Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Pacific Northwest of the North American continent, and many, many, many more. So many different kinds of creatures that seem to be from a similar species, right?
Right, Gary. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of different creatures described from around the world. Let's dig into the amazing assortment of differing flavors of these creatures, beginning with swamp-based creatures in the American East. From the swamps and forests of Florida, the skunk ape is often described as a large, ape-like creature with a strong odor. Numerous sightings have been reported, including one in the Mythical River State Park in 2000, where a family claimed to have encountered a 7-foot-tall, hairy creature. Similar to the skunk ape is the Fouke monster, also known as the Boggy Creek monster. This creature is said to roam the marshes and wooded areas of Fouke, Arkansas. It gained notoriety in the 1970s due to multiple reports of a large, hairy creature attacking livestock and frightening residents. Next is the Grassman. Sightings of the Grassman, a Bigfoot-like creature, have been reported in Ohio, particularly in the area surrounding the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Witnesses describe a tall, bipedal creature covered in hair, often seen near rivers or crossing roads. There have been numerous eyewitness reports of the Grassman in the last century. Another swamp-based creature is the Honey Island Swamp Monster. Located in the swamps of Louisiana, the Honey Island Swamp Monster is described as a bipedal creature with grayish hair, red eyes, and a putrid smell. Numerous sightings have occurred since the 1960s, with witnesses claiming to have seen it lurking in the dense forest and marshes. Next, we find the Loveland Frogman. In 1955, a police officer in Loveland, Ohio, reported seeing 3 bipedal creatures, about 3 to 4 feet tall, resembling frog-like humanoids. The sighting occurred near a wooded area close to the Little Miami River, and subsequent reports from other witnesses emerged over the years. The Pope Lick Monster. In Kentucky, the Pope Lick Monster is said to inhabit the area around the Pope Lick Creek, a heavily wooded and rugged region. The creature is described as a humanoid with goat-like features, including horns and the lower body of a goat. It has been the subject of urban legends and purported sightings. And finally, we find the Beast of Bray Road, located in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. The Beast of Bray Road is a creature resembling a werewolf or upright canine. Witnesses have reported encounters with this mysterious creature in the wooded areas near Bray Road, describing it as a large, hairy creature that walks on 2 legs. And these are just a few of the many encounters witnesses have experienced over the years in the American East areas.
So how could these wild men coexist with us?
In this day and age, how could they coexist with us? That's a great question. Well, you would think that cowboys, prospectors, trappers, hunters would have figured this out a long time ago, right? But they haven't. Even they have these stories. Yet we haven't captured a Bigfoot just yet. So, what are these stories? What are these encounters like that these aggressive, adventurous souls, these humans out in the distant reaches of wilderness, have experienced? What are these stories? Let's look a little bit into that, because if anyone had have firsthand accounts of these creatures, it would be the cowboys, the prospectors, and the hunters.
Yes, Gary and Tabitha, it seems natural that these adventurous souls would be the first to provide undeniable evidence determining the existence of these creatures. So let's look at even more of the stories and accounts of various creatures from around the world. The Yowie of Australia, a cryptid reported in the forests of Australia. The Yowie is often described as a large, hairy creature resembling Bigfoot. Sightings have been documented across various regions, including the Blue Mountains and Lamington National Park. Australia harbors many animal species found nowhere else in the world. Therefore, it stands to reason that a mysterious ancient creature like the Yogi could possibly exist there. Checking on the Asian continent, we find the Almas, known as the wild man or Almasti. This creature is reported in the remote forests of the Caucasus Mountains, spanning several countries such as Russia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. Witnesses claim to have seen a creature resembling a Neanderthal, or ape, often in areas with limited human presence. Given the known and scientifically accepted past existence of Homo sapiens-like species, such as Neanderthal and Denisovans, it is reasonable to suggest that wild men or creatures of such types could have existed there, and could still exist, hidden away in the extreme wilderness areas of these landscapes. And then we must cite the well-known Yeti. The legendary Yeti, or abominable snowman, is said to inhabit the Himalayan mountain range, including Nepal, Tibet, and Bhutan. Although most sightings occur in snowy, mountainous regions, there have been reports of encounters in forested areas lower down the slopes. Especially intriguing with respect to the Yeti is that numerous prolific and well-respected mountain climbers, Sherpas and others, have claimed to have witnessed creatures resembling the mythical Yeti. And venturing into regions of tropical rainforest, we find the mapinguari. From the Amazon comes the mapinguari, a large creature resembling a mix of a giant sloth and a bear. Sightings and stories of the mapinguari have been shared among indigenous communities in Brazil, Peru, and other Amazonian regions. There are vast regions of the Amazon which have yet to be explored by modern adventurers. In fact, there even remain uncontacted indigenous tribes within its impenetrable rainforests. Moving on to the islands of Indonesia, we find the orang pendek. Native to the dense forests of Sumatra, Indonesia, the orang pendek is described as a short, bipedal hominid creature. Witnesses claim it has long arms, short legs, and is covered in dark hair. Sightings of the orang pendek have occurred in areas like the Kerinci Seblat National Park. And Gary and Tabitha, it should be emphasized that these are just a few of the reported creatures from around the world, and we haven't even explored the most famous of them all, the Bigfoot of the American Pacific Northwest and Canada.
So, with so many game trail cameras out there, how come we haven't picked up anything yet?
There are a lot of game trail cameras out there these days. And there are a lot of people hiking out in the wilderness with smartphones that have great cameras and great video cameras built in. Why is it that most of the evidence we have is old, grainy 16mm film? Great question. Why isn't there more evidence? Tabitha and I have spent countless days in the wilderness, really remote areas, and we haven't come across anything yet. But that doesn't really mean anything. Maybe these creatures have evolved in such a way that they avoid mankind. Maybe they know better. So let's take a look at that.
In an age of satellite imagery, DNA analysis, and global connectivity, it's easy to dismiss the existence of mythical creatures like Bigfoot as mere fantasy. But what if we told you that in today's modern world, there are plausible scenarios that could allow such enigmatic beings to remain hidden right under our noses? To understand how this could be, we must first consider the vast and uncharted wilderness that still stretches across our planet. In the deepest, most rugged terrain, there are pockets that have never felt the footprints of human beings. It's within these untouched realms that creatures like Bigfoot could find refuge. These regions, often inaccessible and teeming with life, provide the perfect cover for elusive beings to thrive. The dense forests, rugged mountains, and vast swamps offer abundant sources of food and shelter, away from prying eyes and modern technology. While the specific locations can vary, we should consider the typical forest areas associated with Bigfoot sightings. Pacific Northwest rainforests. The Pacific Northwest, encompassing areas of Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia, is renowned for its lush temperate rainforests. Towering coniferous trees such as Douglas firs and western red cedars dominate the landscape. These forests are characterized by dense undergrowth, moss-covered forest floors, and an abundance of ferns and shrubs. The terrain is often hilly, with deep valleys, cascading rivers, and secluded lakes, providing ample hiding places for elusive creatures like Bigfoot. Rocky Mountain forests. The Rocky Mountains span several states, including Colorado, Montana, and Wyoming, offering diverse forested habitats. These forests consist of a mix of evergreen and deciduous trees, such as ponderosa pines, spruces, and aspens. The terrain is rugged, with steep slopes, rocky cliffs, and deep canyons. Alpine meadows, clear mountain streams, and dense vegetation contribute to the prime habitat for potential Bigfoot sightings. Appalachian forests. The Appalachian Mountains stretch across the eastern United States, offering extensive forested areas where Bigfoot sightings have been reported. These forests showcase a variety of tree species, including oaks, maples, and hickories. The landscape is characterized by rolling hills, deep valleys, and winding rivers. The Appalachian forests feature dense underbrush, wildflowers, and a rich biodiversity that provides ample cover and sustenance for potential Bigfoot populations. Coastal rainforests. Along the coastlines of the Pacific Northwest and Alaska, coastal rainforests create unique habitats where Bigfoot sightings have occurred. These forests experience high levels of precipitation, fostering the growth of massive Sitka spruce, cedar, and hemlock trees. The forests are often draped with moss, lichens, and ferns, creating an enchanting, otherworldly atmosphere. The proximity to the ocean brings a mix of saltwater air, mist, and dense fog, adding to the mystique of these forested areas. From a scientific perspective, we must also consider the adaptability of these creatures. Evolutionary biologists tell us that species can evolve to blend seamlessly into their environment. Over time, Bigfoot-like beings could have evolved strategies to avoid detection, using the very wilderness they inhabit to their advantage. Nature has a remarkable way of allowing species to remain hidden when necessary. Camouflage, nocturnal habits, and avoidance of human activity are all strategies that could enable these creatures to remain elusive. Modern sightings and eyewitness accounts continue to trickle in, challenging our assumptions about what's possible in the wild. While skeptics may dismiss these reports, they cannot be easily brushed aside. One example would be what has been called the Sierra Sounds. In the Sierra Nevada mountains of California, a group of hunters recorded strange vocalizations believed to be produced by Bigfoot-like creatures. The recordings, known as the Sierra Sounds, captured a series of whoops, howls, and guttural sounds, providing potential evidence of Bigfoot activity in the region. The Sierra Sounds, they were recorded by journalist Alan Berry and avid outdoorsman Ron Moorhead. They would hang microphones in trees and then wait patiently for the sounds to occur. What they captured is considered the best vocalizations ever recorded of possible Bigfoot conversations. The location of the recording has never been publicized, but it is in the Sierra Nevada mountains of eastern California, a remote deer hunters' camp between Lake Tahoe and Yosemite National Park. In 1971, Ron Moorhead worked as a hospitality manager and church board administrator in Merced, California. He became aware that some friends had heard mysterious creatures making horrific sounds while deer hunting. They had even found human-like footprints that were oversized. Ron went back with the hunters to investigate. This small group included a hunter friend and Sacramento journalist Alan Berry. He was a former officer in the Vietnam War, held a master's degree in science, and was an investigative reporter for the Sacramento Bee. He originally had joined the expedition to disprove the encounters. But this all changed when he heard the sounds coming from the deep, dark forest. These primal sounds shook him to his core. He soon found himself helping the others cast footprints, and from this moment forward, he was entranced by this enigma. The series of audio clips are some of the strangest and most compelling recordings in Bigfoot investigation history. The sounds were the subject of a year-long study at the University of Wyoming. The study concluded that there was no doubt the sounds were primate in nature, and that one of the creatures involved in the recordings far exceeded a human being's lung capacity and range. The creatures whistled, screamed, whooped, and vocalized towards the men several times. After the invaders faded into the night, Barry and his companions found large, barefoot prints. Let's listen to the actual recordings for a few minutes and relive what these men experienced. You will hear the mysterious sounds coming from the dark, impenetrable forest, and at times the men returning the calls in an attempt to communicate with whatever was out there in the darkness. Let's listen.
Please try and talk to this. That's our job. We know where we can look for tracks and all that for sure. I heard them cross the creek. There's two of them across the creek at the big rocks. It's a hard act to follow.
He sounds like he talks to us and they talk to each other.
Yeah. Right there, just see moving right through there.
As we navigate the complex tapestry of our modern world, we must remain humble in the face of the unknown. We must acknowledge that the existence of mythical creatures like Bigfoot is not a certainty, but it's also not an impossibility. While countless stories, footprints, and eyewitness accounts have contributed to the folklore surrounding Bigfoot, one piece of evidence stands out as both iconic and controversial: the Patterson-Gimlin film. Our journey into the enigma of the Patterson-Gimlin film begins on the crisp autumn day of October 20th, 1967, in the dense forests of Northern California, along the banks of Bluff Creek. This remote wilderness would bear witness to an event that would change the course of Bigfoot research forever. To understand the significance of the Patterson-Gimlin film, we must first delve into the backgrounds of its two primary protagonists, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. Roger, a self-proclaimed Bigfoot enthusiast, was determined to prove the existence of the elusive creature. Alongside him was his friend and fellow outdoorsman, Bob Gimlin. Armed with a 16mm movie camera, the duo set out on horseback to explore the wilderness of Bluff Creek, deep in Six Rivers National Forest. They were on a mission to gather evidence of Bigfoot, following reports of strange tracks and sightings in the area. On that fateful day, Patterson and Gimlin stumbled upon something extraordinary. What they encountered, they could not have anticipated. The camera started rolling, capturing an image that would become the most famous and debated piece of evidence in the history of cryptozoology. The Patterson-Gimlin film, just 59.9 seconds in length, forever etched itself into the annals of cryptozoology. But what does this film actually depict? The footage shows a large, upright, ape-like creature striding through the woods. It glances back at the camera, revealing a face covered in hair. The creature's long, swinging arms, massive frame, and distinct gait make it a subject of intense scrutiny. The debate surrounding the authenticity of the Patterson-Gimlin film has raged on for decades. Skeptics point to various inconsistencies and alleged hoaxes in Roger Patterson's history, while believers argue that the film shows an authentic encounter with Bigfoot. In recent years, a biomechanical study of the creature's movements in the film has added a new layer to the analysis. Researchers have pointed out that the creature's stride and proportions appear consistent with an unknown primate, lending credence to its authenticity. Regardless of the ongoing debate, the Patterson-Gimlin film has had a profound impact on both Bigfoot research and popular culture. The film catapulted Bigfoot into the mainstream consciousness. It became a staple of documentaries, books, and countless television shows. Bigfoot became an enduring symbol of the mysterious and unknown. The film also spurred scientific inquiry into the existence of Bigfoot. Although many scientists remain skeptical, a dedicated community of researchers continues to search for evidence, conducting field investigations and collecting data in the hopes of solving the mystery. Perhaps one of the most enduring aspects of the Patterson-Gimlin film is the human element. The film captured not only a potential cryptid, but also the awe and wonder that come with exploring the unknown.
Hoaxes and fakes. Could this have really screwed things up?
Hoaxes and fakes could have screwed things up. There is the possibility that these stories reside in our collective subconscious, that we've heard the stories over the years, and so every time we see something flitter in the woods, we automatically think, oh my gosh, Sasquatch or Bigfoot or Yeti or whatever it may be. It is a possibility. However, I think it's an unlikely possibility. And the reason for this is again, that we hear these stories from so many different places and across time. If it wasn't for the fact that we've heard stories for thousands and thousands and thousands of years of these creatures, I would say, okay, maybe it is in the collective subconscious. But I think when we really dig in, we really look at all of these stories across time, I think it becomes very clear that there's something to them, that there's something going on.
But what about the argument against the existence of Bigfoot or similar creatures? Despite numerous reported sightings and alleged evidence, the existence of Bigfoot remains unproven due to the lack of concrete, scientifically verifiable evidence. While anecdotal accounts and blurry photographs exist, they do not provide definitive proof of a large, undiscovered hominid species. The absence of clear, high-quality photographs, DNA samples, or captured specimens makes it challenging to validate the existence of Bigfoot. Many reported Bigfoot sightings and evidence have been proven to be hoaxes or misidentifications. Throughout history, there have been instances where individuals have fabricated sightings or planted misleading evidence to perpetuate the Bigfoot myth. Additionally, misidentifications of known animals, such as bears or other wildlife, can account for a significant number of reported encounters. The prevalence of hoaxes and misidentifications raises skepticism about the authenticity of many Bigfoot claims. The accounts of Bigfoot encounters often vary greatly in terms of the creature's appearance, behavior, and habitat. Descriptions range from a large, ape-like creature to a more human-like entity. These inconsistencies, coupled with the reliance on eyewitness testimony, which can be prone to inaccuracies and biases, weaken the reliability of Bigfoot sightings as evidence for its existence. The absence of consistent and scientific data diminishes the credibility of Bigfoot claims. Bigfoot is purported to be a large, elusive hominid that requires a sustainable population to survive. However, sustaining a breeding population of such creatures would necessitate a viable habitat, sufficient food sources, and limited interactions with humans. The lack of concrete evidence, such as bones, droppings, or nesting sites, raises questions about the ecological feasibility of a large primate-like creature remaining undiscovered in densely populated regions for centuries. The scientific community, as a whole, does not acknowledge Bigfoot as a legitimate creature due to the absence of rigorous scientific evidence supporting its existence. The burden of proof lies with those claiming the existence of such a creature, and without conclusive evidence, the scientific consensus remains skeptical. The lack of peer-reviewed studies, reputable scientific investigations, and consensus within the scientific community adds to the skepticism surrounding the existence of Bigfoot. Beyond this, there is the possibility of psychological factors, such as a collective consciousness. It could be inherent in our psyche to conjure up these experiences.
Now let's look into that, the collective subconscious. Is this a real thing?
In the search for understanding the enigmatic phenomenon of Bigfoot sightings, we must journey into the depths of the human psyche. Could the concept of a collective subconscious shed light on why countless individuals, across cultures and time, claim to have encountered this elusive creature? The notion of a collective subconscious taps into the shared experiences and symbols that reside deep within the human mind. Throughout history, humans have told stories and created art that reflects these universal themes. It is in this realm that the legend of Bigfoot finds its place. The archetype of the wild man, a powerful and mysterious figure living on the edges of civilization, has existed in human cultures for centuries. From the ancient myths of the Green Man to the wild men of the forest in medieval Europe, the idea of an untamed primal being lurking in the wilderness has long captured our imagination. Psychologists propose that our collective subconscious, a reservoir of shared human experiences and archetypes, may explain why stories of Bigfoot persist across diverse cultures. These tales resonate with something deep within us, a primal fear of the unknown and a fascination with our untamed nature. The stories of Bigfoot and similar creatures tap into our primal instincts, the fear of what lies beyond the campfire's glow and the awe of a vast, untouched wilderness. The modern sightings and encounters with Bigfoot continue to puzzle researchers. These witnesses, often sincere in their accounts, may be tapping into the collective subconscious, bringing to life the archetypal wild man lurking in the wilderness. Could it be that these individuals are experiencing a manifestation of a deeply ingrained archetype? An encounter with something beyond our comprehension that exists within the realms of our shared subconscious? As we explore the concept of the collective subconscious, we must remain open to the idea that Bigfoot sightings may not merely be hoaxes or hallucinations, but rather a reflection of our primal fears and fascination with the wild unknown.
Now let's consider some really crazy ideas.
All right. Aliens. Yes, we're going down that rabbit hole.
You're going there, aren't you?
Aliens.
Oh boy.
Is it possible that aliens have planted these creatures to see what would happen? Evolutionarily speaking, perhaps it's an experiment. Look, anything is possible in this day and age. Just go onto social media for a few minutes, you'll see that. Anything is possible. So we have to consider that it could be aliens planting different creatures to see how they evolve with us, how they evolve separately. Perhaps they could be a replacement for mankind if mankind really screws things up. Who knows? 2, glitches in the matrix. Is this nothing more than a simulation? And what we experience when we see entities such as these things, are they simply glitches in the matrix? Something to consider, I suppose. Also, glitches in our collective subconscious. If there is a collective subconscious, perhaps there are glitches there from time to time as well, and they're similar. They're of a similar nature. And finally, the possibility of parallel universes, multiverses, little glitches there where entities in different spaces in time coexist with us, and sometimes they emerge. It is possible. It is possible that there are points in time that are a little bit off, glitchy, and so what happens is entities that are perhaps extinct all of a sudden appear but then are gone. I know these sound really crazy, but they're really fun to think about. So let's take a look at some images, some renderings of what these wild creatures might be like.
Let's dig a little deeper and consider a few strange encounters other than Bigfoot, that which are compelling yet not often spoken about. First is the Grassman. The first prominent sighting of the Grassman occurred in the small village of Minerva, Ohio, in August of 1978, when the grandchildren of Minerva residents Evelyn and Hal Clayton, along with their friends, ran inside screaming about a hairy monster they saw in the gravel pit outside. When the couple went out to investigate, they saw what the crying children had described. It was covered in dark matted hair, sitting in the pit and fiddling with discarded trash. It was estimated to be around 300 pounds. The Claytons fled, but this would not be their last encounter with Ohio's ape man. The Claytons would see the Grassman many times after their initial encounter. One night, it was seen peering at them through their kitchen window. Hal ran for his gun, but the primate was gone before he returned. The area was later investigated by police, and although there was no sign of the hairy humanoid, several faint footprints were observed in the mud, and a terrible smell still lingered in the air. The Ohio Grassman was later seen by the Claytons atop a hill near the strip mine at night. The next month, in broad daylight, the couple observed two hairy bipeds on the same hill. It was only after these reports by the Claytons were made that a startling connection was made. Days before the gravel pit incident, the Claytons' German Shepherd was found dead, its neck broken, presumably killed by the hairy beast. The Minerva case, along with its infamous Sasquatch, would form the most complex and important Bigfoot investigation in Ohio's history. Even so, the year 1978 was not the first mention of such creatures roaming the Buckeye State. In the 1700s, Indians native to the Ohio grasslands spoke of a race of bipedal ape men, referred to as wild ones of the woods, that lived nearby. The Native Americans would leave out food for the creatures in an effort to keep peace. Again in the late 1800s, sightings of a similar hairy biped were made by the Ohio River. The hominid had apparently tried to throw a man out of his carriage, but retreated when his daughter, riding as a passenger, threw several stones at it. It is unknown whether these are all Grassman sightings or possibly sightings of a similar kind of Bigfoot, and if the latter, how related the two species are. In the realm of the unexplained and the eerie, few creatures have stirred as much fear and fascination as the Chupacabra. This legendary beast, whose name translates to goat sucker, has haunted the imaginations of people across Latin America and beyond for decades. In this exploration, we will venture into the enigmatic world of the Chupacabra, tracing its origins, examining reported encounters, and shedding light on the mystery that continues to captivate our collective consciousness. The Chupacabra legend first emerged in Puerto Rico in the 1990s, when a series of bizarre animal deaths shocked rural communities. Livestock, particularly goats, were found dead with puncture wounds, and their blood mysteriously drained. Eyewitnesses began to describe the creature responsible for these gruesome killings as a small reptilian being, with spikes or quills down its back, red or glowing eyes, and sharp fangs. This image would become the iconic representation of the Chupacabra. The media quickly seized upon these reports, and the legend of the Chupacabra spread like wildfire. It wasn't long before similar reports surfaced in other Latin American countries, each with its own unique spin on the creature's appearance and habits. As the legend grew, so did the number of reported Chupacabra encounters. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, stories of animal mutilations attributed to the Chupacabra became increasingly common. Farmers and ranchers reported finding their livestock drained of blood, often with no apparent cause of death. Despite numerous eyewitness accounts and investigations, the Chupacabra remained elusive. No concrete evidence, such as clear photographs or captured specimens, ever emerged to confirm its existence. Some governments took these reports seriously and launched official investigations into the phenomenon. However, no conclusive evidence of the Chupacabra's existence was ever found. As the legend persisted, skeptics and scientists began to question the validity of Chupacabra claims. Many experts argued that the supposed Chupacabra attacks were more likely the work of natural predators, such as coyotes or feral dogs, which could account for the puncture wounds and drained blood. Psychologists and sociologists suggested that mass hysteria and the power of suggestion played a significant role in perpetuating the Chupacabra myth. They pointed to how reports of the creature's appearance varied widely, often influenced by popular culture. Over time, the Chupacabra began to evolve in the public imagination, taking on new forms and characteristics. In some regions, the Chupacabra transformed from a reptilian creature to a more generic, dog-like cryptid. Sightings varied from creature to creature, further complicating attempts to study or understand it. The Chupacabra transcended its origins as a mere cryptid and became a cultural phenomenon. It appeared in books, movies, and television shows, solidifying its status as a legendary creature. As we reflect on the Chupacabra's enduring mystery, we must acknowledge that it remains an elusive enigma, a puzzle yet to be solved. Despite the passage of time, reports of Chupacabra sightings still surface periodically. Cryptozoologists and enthusiasts continue to seek answers, hoping to uncover the truth behind the legend. The Chupacabra serves as a reminder that our world is still full of mysteries, waiting to be unraveled. Whether it is a creature of the night or a product of our collective imagination, it has left an indelible mark on our cultural landscape. In the realm of cryptids and legends, the Chupacabra stands as a symbol of the inexplicable, the unknown, and the enduring power of folklore. It reminds us that even in our age of scientific advancement, there are mysteries that continue to defy explanation. As long as the night is dark and the woods are deep, the legend of the Chupacabra will persist, casting its shadow over our imaginations and keeping us forever intrigued by the unexplained. Now let's consider a few more strange creatures of a similar nature to the Bigfoot phenomenon. The Pope Lick Monster. In Kentucky, the Pope Lick Monster is said to inhabit the area around the Pope Lick Creek, a heavily wooded and rugged region. The creature is described as a humanoid with goat-like features, including horns and the lower body of a goat. It has been the subject of urban legends and purported sightings. The Beast of Bray Road. Located in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. The Beast of Bray Road is a creature resembling a werewolf or upright canine. Witnesses have reported encounters with this mysterious creature in the wooded areas near Bray Road, describing it as a large, hairy creature that walks on two legs. The Mothman. In Point Pleasant, West Virginia, the Mothman is an entity often associated with disaster and tragedy. Witnesses describe a creature with large wings, glowing red eyes, and a humanoid body. Numerous sightings occurred in the late 1960s, with many reports coming from the vicinity of a dense forested area. The Chupacabra. Although primarily associated with livestock attacks in Latin America, the Chupacabra has also been reported in wooded regions of North America. Witnesses claim to have encountered a creature resembling a hairless dog or reptile with spines along its back, often lurking in forests or near rural areas. The Lizard Man of Scape Ore Swamp. In 1988, in Lee County, South Carolina, a creature known as the Lizard Man was reportedly seen near the Scape Ore Swamp. Descriptions vary, but witnesses have described a scaly humanoid creature with glowing red eyes, often encountered in the vicinity of the swamp and surrounding wooded areas. The Enfield Horror. In 1973, in Enfield, Illinois, a creature known as the Enfield Horror terrorized the local community. Witnesses reported encounters with a bizarre creature resembling a grayish, three-legged monster with red eyes and claws. Sightings occurred near wooded areas, leaving residents in a state of fear and confusion. The Black Shuck. Black Shuck is a legendary creature found in British folklore, particularly in East Anglia. Described as a large black dog with fiery eyes, witnesses have reported encounters with the Black Shuck in forests and rural areas, often associated with eerie and supernatural occurrences. The Van Meter Visitor. In 1903, the town of Van Meter, Iowa, was plagued by a strange creature known as the Van Meter Visitor. Described as a large, winged creature with a horned head, witnesses reported encounters with the creature in the local coal mine and surrounding wooded areas. The visitor emitted a blinding light from its forehead, causing panic among the townspeople. Now for the fun part. What could these creatures look like? From Bigfoot to the abominable snowman to Mothman or the Chupacabra, the possibilities stir the imagination. Let's step away from conjecture and analysis. Let's venture far away from the scientific method and enter the domain of our wild creativity. In what forms could creatures like Bigfoot exist? Now sit back and enjoy while we stir the pot of artistry to imagine what could exist out there deep in the mysterious and unexplored wilderness of our world.
This has been a really, really wild adventure, huh, Gary?
It has been. I love these renderings. I love these images that we create to consider the possibility of what these wild creatures could be. You know, we as humans have been fascinated with these stories for so long. And there's a part of me that doesn't want us to ever capture one of these things, that wants them to remain elusive, that wants them to continue to be a mystery. Because as long as there's curiosity and there's mystery out there, it makes living worthwhile. We need these stories of these wild men, these ape-like creatures, whatever they may be. We need to have curiosity in our world. We should never ever know all of these things. Perhaps one day there will be incredibly strong evidence and we'll really know what's going on out there. In the meantime, it's fascinating to consider the possibilities, because therein, that curiosity is what makes us intrinsically human and creates an existence which is alive and full of life. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next adventure.